discovered the hidden lies of those I trusted. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. At 12:41 a.m. The people I trusted most begged me to stay quiet. That was Noah's first sentence, low and fast, a kind of emergency prayer that didn't sound like him at all. Ava was on the line too, breathing like she'd run from our apartment to the corner and back, whispering, "Jordan, please, please, not yet." I watched the seconds crawl across my phone and felt my stomach tilt, the way it does when an elevator stops between floors. Noah said, "Hale made mistakes, clerical, optic stuff, but he's fixing it. If you go to the board now, donors panic, projects freeze. We've been friends since 10th grade. He knows my weak spot is duty." Ava pressed, "You log everything. You timestamp everything. Give us till morning. We'll bring clarity." Clarity used to be my hobby. I'm a community librarian with a paramedic's attention to time. Check-in sheets, camera logs, file names like breadcrumbs. When the town flooded last fall, the center survived because people trusted our boring systems. I have spent years being steady. It is not glamorous, but it pays off when chaos visits. Hale, our director, once called me the human spreadsheet, smiling like it was a compliment and an insult. I took it as both. 2 hours earlier, a donor asked me to reconcile gala totals with a 4:06 p.m. deposit slip. The numbers were cousins, not twins. A raffle scanner laptop had vanished from the closet. Hale had my keys for inventory. And somehow he had my approvals too. Emails I supposedly sent authorizing venue costs I hadn't seen. I drafted a report because the binder says you do that when money and stories diverge. "Morning," I said finally, because the words sounded like a compromise that could still keep faith with the rules. Noah exhaled so loudly I heard the relief in his teeth. Ava whispered, "Thank you." And I wished I didn't love the softness of her gratitude. I set the draft in a folder named Hold and watched it sit there like a patient who might not make it through the night. I didn't sleep. I wrote down the time of every call, the caller ID, the pauses, the way Noah's voice flattened on certain words. I kept hearing the sentence he started with, like a siren that wouldn't shut off inside my skull. At 12:41 a.m., the people I trusted most begged me to stay quiet. Mr. Hale did not start as a villain in this town. He arrived with sandpaper charm, took a dying gym and called it a community center, cut a ribbon with the mayor and a children's choir. He wrote grants like love letters to resilience. When the storm hit last year, his trucks delivered blankets before the county could print a form. People say reputation is what others decide. Hale curated that like a museum. Ava believed in him early. She joined the volunteer board because she likes fixing what she can touch. Noah believed because he believes in momentum. Hale always seemed halfway to the next victory. I believed because I prefer structures over saviors, and Hale built structures that stood. He called me Jordan the Ledger and asked me to translate bureaucracy into human. I laughed, wary. The first cut came small. After a youth fundraiser, I asked for the signed donor sheet. Hale waved a hand. "Already scanned," he said. Later, the file he uploaded had 3 names I didn't recognize and a total that leaned upward. "Corporate match," he said, smiling with his whole theater. I filed it and told myself not every odd number is a crime. 2 weeks ago, Hale joked to volunteers I'd be a great detective if I ever got over my fear of making enemies. The room laughed. Ava's apologetic grin said, "Don't be sensitive." I pretended it didn't sting. It did. I went home and counted our first aid kits, because counting is how I stopped thinking about other kinds of injuries. Still, I stayed steady. That's my job and my temperament. I open at 8, fix the badge printer, help a father with rent forms. I log the cameras when lights glitch. I rename files so future me can trust past me, always. When Hale texted, "Need your keys, late night inventory," I left them at reception like I was helping order return. Last night, after the call, I opened my notebook and wrote history like evidence. Dates I met Hale, grant years, the first time Ava defended him in a fight with me, the last time Noah rolled his eyes at my questions. A pattern isn't a pattern until you draw it twice. I drew this one faintly and almost erased it each time. At 9, I will ask why the bank and binder disagree. Hale's office smells like citrus and printer toner, like someone gave success a scent. He stood when I entered, palms visible, practiced transparency. "Jordan," he said warmly, Thank you for coming early. I hear we have a, what do you call it, variance? He used my words like souvenirs from a trip he hadn't taken. The gala totals versus the deposit, I said, laying out copies. The receipt shows $28,940. The donor spreadsheet shows $31,515. Also, the raffle laptop is missing. I kept my voice soft, the tone I use with patients when I'm on ambulance rotation and their panic needs a calmer room. He peered, nodded, and did the shrug people do when a dog ruins a shoe. Corporate match timing, he said. Money landed after the teller counted, and I borrowed the laptop to test scanning at the annex. He slid my keys across the desk. Big night. You know how it is. I don't, I said gently. I wasn't at the deposit. I pointed to the timestamp on the slip. 4:06 p.m. Yesterday you told the board you were at a donor luncheon until 5:30. A blink, then a smooth pivot. Driver did the bank run, he said. Receipt printed early. You know how banks are, clocks, forms, etc. He smiled and let the etc. do most of the work. He opened a drawer for a folder. Inside, a phone chimed, a sound from no device on his desk. Reflex made me look. Hale snapped the drawer shut with a careless laugh. Old phone. Needs wiping. At the annex closet, the laptop shelf had a neat rectangle of dust where a machine had rested. A sticky note in my handwriting said, "Do not remove. Serial A9Q, 918. I took a picture because pictures stop stories from fogging. In the AV cabinet, a new hub blinked, one we never purchased. I took a picture of that too, then sat in my car and breathed. Back at my desk, I opened the email Ava had sent, approving venue reimbursements. The header showed routing through our server at 11:17 p.m., but my log shows no traffic then. We shut lights at 10. The body used her sign-off, but misspelled the town's name. I called. She didn't answer. Noah texted, meeting. All day. Morning had started drawing conclusions I couldn't ignore anymore. The anonymous tip came on a postcard, which felt wholesome until I read. Check shadow budget. On drive. Ask why board never saw revision 4. No return address. No signature. Just block letters and a coffee ring. I don't like theatrics, but I like instructions. I opened the drive fast. A folder I'd never touched held a Rev 4, with changes, vendor names compressed, totals rounded, a footnote exiled to a page nobody reads. I walked to Hale's office and found him laughing with a contractor from the last roof repair. We're nimble, he was saying. We pivot when the community needs us. He pivoted when he saw me. Jordan, you look like a man with data. Shadow budget, I said. Where did Rev 4 come from? He smiled. We iterate. Board versions are simplified for non-financial eyes. Ava texted, please don't ambush him in the hallway. I hadn't told her where I was. Noah called. Be a team player. We're presenting Friday. Don't make a spectacle. The process server arrived at lunch. She asked for Mr. Hale by full name and handed me a packet when he stepped out. The top page wore a law firm header and words like demand, cure, misappropriation. I scanned them fast enough to taste copper, then locked the envelope in the safe because panic is not a policy. By afternoon, the donor who flagged the numbers emailed again. Something feels off. If you need to talk, I'm available. I typed and deleted 3 replies, then sent a 4th. I'm reviewing and will follow policy. Thank you for your care. It felt like dialing 911 and hanging up before anyone answers. That night, Noah brought takeout and tried to make the air casual. You're overheating, he said, stealing fries. Let Hale smooth this. He's allergic to paperwork, not virtue. Ava squeezed my knee. He's under pressure, she said. Let's not make it worse. Pressure doesn't create lies. It reveals them, like steam lifting old paint. When I took the trash out, I noticed a car idling across the street, headlights off, dash glowing. The silhouette inside looked like a man reading a phone, waiting for something he believed would arrive on its own. A familiar voice hissed, keep quiet, Jordan, keep faith with the family. By morning the center hummed with the practical sounds of usefulness. Copy machines purring, sneakers squeaking in the gym, coffee crackling on the warmer. Usefulness is a camouflage. It makes dishonesty look like a scheduling error. I kept the mask on until noon, when I learned there was a group chat about Friday optics that did not include me. I found out because a volunteer, sweet kid named Mariah, asked if I'd seen Noah's message about condensing the slides. I hadn't. She tilted her phone so I could glimpse the chat name. Steering Plus. Hale, board chair, Ava, Noah, 2 donors, our PR freelancer. Not me. The person who kept the numbers breathing was not in the room where narrative was engineered. At 1, Hale called a staff huddle and praised our grit, while obliquely referring to noise that distracts from impact. He didn't look at me when he said noise. I felt eyes anyway. Afterward, Ava pulled me into a hallway and smoothed my sleeve like petting a bristling cat. You weren't excluded, she said softly. It was a quick thing. We'll loop you in. I asked to be looped in now. She bit her lip. Maybe sit this one out. You're a little negative right now. Negative is my word for gravity, I said. It's how things don't float away. Noah found me an hour later by the badge printer. Buddy, he began, voice bright as a bandage. We need your steadiness, not your suspicion. You keep the trains on time. Let us handle reputations. He grinned. You look happier when you're not the cop. I didn't smile back. He sighed. Stop treating friends like suspects, okay? Stop giving me evidence, I said, and watched the grin wobble. At closing, a woman waited by the front desk with a canvas tote and a posture that said she'd never learned to slouch. Ms. Patel, she introduced herself. Independent auditor, interim consultant to 2 of your funders. She flashed a letter of engagement. Walk with me. Outside, she matched my pace. You keep logs. Do you also keep a private one? I hesitated. You should, she said. If your instinct is right, documentation will be your raft. If it's wrong, documentation will clear good people faster. I don't want to burn down the house to find a leaky pipe, I said. She nodded. Then start with shut-off valves, permissions, keys, access. Photograph. Screenshot. Right times, not feelings. Feelings rot in court. She handed me a small notebook. Ink pen, not erasable. She paused, studying my face. People will call you disloyal for keeping records. They will be very grateful later. I slid the notebook into my jacket, feeling its square weight against my ribs like a stern new conscience. I'll help you if you help yourself first, Ms. Patel said. I said I would, and she asked me to repeat it like a vow. I will document everything quietly, starting now, without warning the circle. The first real ignition point arrived 2 days later. I was tasked with retrieving old minutes from Hale's desk, routine enough, except his drawer was unlocked. Beneath a folder marked Q1 Outreach lay a phone I had never seen. Cheap plastic, different carrier. It vibrated once in my hand, a message preview lighting the screen, transfer done. Shell balance safe. My stomach nodded. I slipped it back, memorizing scratches around the charging port, and left the drawer as I found it. That night, Ava showed me an email, her email, approving nearly $6,000 in venue costs for the last gala. Did you write this? I asked. She frowned. Of course. It's my job. But the subject line had the same typo I'd seen before. The town's name misspelled with 1 letter missing. I never make that mistake, she said nervously. Maybe I was rushing? Her voice didn't convince even herself. The next morning, I matched vendor IDs against invoices. 2 identical numbers pointed to different payees. One to the caterer we used, another to a company no one had heard of. Both listed Ava's initials as approving authority. I showed Noah. He leaned back, arms folded. Errors, Jordan. Nobody died. His tone was easy, but his knuckles whitened around his pen. Errors don't have burner phones, I said. He tapped the desk. Do not go digging where you'll collapse the roof on all of us. That phrase, all of us, echoed long after he walked away. At lunch, Hale breezed through, shaking hands with a donor, telling a story about resilience. He winked at me as though daring me to contradict his performance. My pocket buzzed. Ava texting, trust me, we're handling it. But handling sounded a lot like burying. I pulled out Ms. Patel's notebook and wrote down the serials, times, phrases, even how Hale's cufflinks gleamed in fluorescent light. Ink doesn't forget when charm tries to erase. That evening, Ava confessed quietly. I didn't write that approval, Jordan. Someone forged me. And in her eyes, I saw the first crack in Hale's polished mask. Once I noticed cracks, they multiplied. A bank teller called about a donor's bounced refund check. Unusual, she said carefully. Withdrawals in round thousands, sometimes minutes after deposits. She lowered her voice. Your director always sends Noah. Says you're too busy. I thanked her, then walked out with my throat tight. Later, I met Hale's ex-assistant in the supermarket. When I mentioned revised agendas, she laughed bitterly. We used to print them after the meetings, swap out a line, adjust totals. No one noticed. Hale said optics matter more than minutes. She stared at her basket of cereal and whispered, "Don't tell him I told you." Back at the center, I checked the security camera logs. Hale had claimed he was away during the Friday bank deposit, but the lobby footage showed him entering at 3:55 p.m., tie loosened, envelope in hand. Timestamps don't tell jokes. That night Noah swung by with 2 coffees, casual as ever. "You're wound tight, brother. Let me unspool it for you." He leaned in. "Yes, there's a shadow budget. Yes, Hale moves numbers. But it's bridge financing. Donors lag, bills pile up, so we float. Nobody loses if nobody talks." "And the forged approvals?" I asked. He shrugged. "You think Ava's perfect? Maybe Hale just nudged her work to keep trains moving. No harm. She said she didn't sign them." His grin faltered. "Then maybe you should stop asking questions she doesn't want answered." That was the moment I realized Noah wasn't just smoothing over Hale's mistakes. He was actively greasing the wheels. He believed loyalty meant covering tracks, not checking maps. When he left, I sat at my desk and stared at my logbook. Bank withdrawals, forged emails, duplicate vendor IDs, burner phones, revised agendas. The pattern was no longer faint pencil lines. It was permanent ink, bleeding through pages. And for the first time, I wrote a word I hadn't dared before: fraud. But I still didn't know why Noah and Ava were willing to protect it. The why hit me in pieces. I stayed late, combing through receipts and email headers. That's when I found the shell. A reimbursement request routed to NRS Consulting, address AP. Box, owner of record N. Sullivan. Noah's initials, bold as daylight. The expenses were fake. Rental chairs for events we held in rooms with built-in seating, catering from companies that didn't exist. Payments funneled from Hale's donor pool, approved under Ava's name, deposited into Noah's new entity. When I confronted Ava gently, "Did you know your initials signed this?" She broke. Tears welled. Noah said it was temporary, just covering a gap until pledges cleared. Hale promised it would balance. I didn't want to ruin everything over a technicality. I stared. "That's not a technicality. That's theft." She whispered, "It's survival. Donors pull out if we look weak. This keeps the center alive." But alive for whom? For Hale's reputation? For Noah's slush fund? For Ava's hope that believing in good intentions excused forged approvals? I took the file to Ms. Patel. She flipped through, expression unreadable. Classic donor skimming. Triangles like this collapse quickly. She tapped the shell invoice. "If you sit on this, you're complicit. If you move, you will lose friends." "I'll lose more if I don't," I said quietly. That night, Ava begged me, "Please, Jordan, give them a chance to fix it. Don't go nuclear." I looked at her and saw someone tangled in Hale's charm, Noah's persuasion, her own need to keep things clean. But my notebook said otherwise. Ink told the story no charm could erase. I kissed her forehead and said, "Tomorrow I'll decide." And I knew deciding meant choosing between my heart and the truth. I cleared my desk, pulled every folder, and stacked them like bricks. Receipts, forged approvals, duplicate IDs, screenshots of Hale's phantom phone messages. At the top sat my notes. Dates, times, phrases no one could argue. Ms. Patel's voice echoed, "If you sit on this, you're complicit." That evening I set up my laptop and opened a recorder. Hale had called a pre-dinner check-in. He didn't know I'd left my phone on the table. He paced his office, voice low but smug. "Optics over accuracy, Jordan. People don't donate for decimals. They donate for narrative." He laughed, then added, "As long as the story shines, the numbers can wait their turn." My stomach churned. I clipped the audio, saved the file with 3 names. Hale_optics_call_08_22. Then I built a folder, proof. Inside I placed bank statements, forged approvals, camera stills, and the call. I labeled each with timestamps and initials. My hands shook, but the structure calmed me. Systems don't lie when people do. The moral dilemma nearly split me. Confront him quietly and risk being smothered by spin? Or go formal, board, donors, authorities, and lose Ava, maybe Noah forever? I paced my apartment until dawn, coffee cooling on the counter, staring at the word fraud written in my logbook. Ava came by at sunrise, eyes swollen. "Don't," she whispered. "We can fix this. If you take it public, Hale's reputation dies, and Noah's too. Do you want that blood on your hands?" I held up the forged approvals. "Their blood is already on these pages." She looked at me like a stranger and whispered, "Then you'll lose me." Her words landed heavier than any legal file. I sat alone after she left, staring at the glow of the folder marked proof. Duty and love had become opposite doors, and I knew once I chose, one door would lock forever. The community dinner was meant to soothe nerves: roast chicken, folded napkins, Hale at the head table shaking hands like a politician. He saw me enter and beckoned, smile polished. "Jordan, sit here. People need reassurance from our human ledger." The compliment felt like bait. Halfway through, he leaned close. "You're young enough to rebuild if this goes wrong." "I'm not. Let me fix this my way." His hand gripped my shoulder. "Don't be the reason donors vanish." Ava sat 2 seats down, gaze flicking between us. When Hale toasted the loyalty of our team, she clapped too long. I saw guilt flicker in her eyes. Noah cornered me by the dessert table. "Brother, think long-term. You scorch Hale, the fallout hits you too. We'll hire a librarian turned whistleblower. You want a career of being radioactive?" "What about truth?" I asked. "Truth is overrated when the house still stands." He leaned close. "Give us one more day. After Friday, we'll settle it." Quietly. I heard my heartbeat louder than the clinking forks. For a moment, doubt pulled at me. What if silence preserved friendships, jobs, even the center itself? Then I felt Ms. Patel's notebook in my jacket. Paper has weight. It reminded me, silence is not safety. I almost caved, almost nodded. But Aunt May's old warning echoed from childhood. When charm starts to sound like a sermon, look for the collection plate. I left the dinner early, walking out past Hale's bright smile and Noah's half-angry squint. Ava didn't follow. Outside, cool air struck my face. My phone buzzed. A text from Ms. Patel. "Ready when you are. Documents preserved. Projector tested. Invite sent." I typed one word, "Yes." And with that, the trap began to close on Hale. Friday arrived heavy, the sky a dull sheet of gray. The town hall conference room was set with rows of metal chairs, a projector humming, Ms. Patel stacking binders like ammunition. Donors shuffled in, board members clutching agendas. Hale entered last, shaking hands, radiating calm he did not own. Ava sat near the front, hands folded too tightly. Noah hovered near the door, scanning faces like he could still redirect the storm. "Ms. Patel opened briskly. Today's review covers financial integrity. Transparency is not optional." She nodded at me. My pulse hammered, but my voice held. Slide 1. Deposit totals versus donor sheets. Slide 2. Duplicate vendor IDs. One real, one shell. Murmurs grew. Slide 3. Emails with Ava's forged signature, time-stamped outside system hours. Ava gasped, covering her mouth. Slide 4. A still image. Hale entering the center at 3:55 with deposit envelope. Slide 5. Audio clip. Hale's voice filled the room. Optics over accuracy. Numbers can wait their turn. The room shifted, faith dissolving into anger. Hale rose, face flushed. "Bridge financing. That's all. Temporary flows. This," he pointed at me, "is a witch hunt by someone bitter about not being included." "Then why Noah's shell company?" Ms. Patel asked calmly, flipping to a filing record. "NRS Consulting. P.O. Box. Same initials." All eyes turned. Noah's grin cracked. It wasn't theft. It was smoothing gaps. Everyone knew pledges lag. I kept us afloat. "You forged my approval," Ava whispered, trembling. Hale sneered. "You benefited too. Don't pretend innocence now." Gasps rippled. A donor stood. "We trusted you. We gave you our children's tuition money for programs. And you lied." Hale's mask slipped. His smile collapsed into a snarl. "You think this center runs on virtue? It runs on me." But no one applauded. The projector still glowed with evidence brighter than his reputation. And in that silence, I knew his empire of charm had finally cracked open. Fallout began immediately. The board suspended Hale pending investigation, donors freezing contributions until audits cleared. Reporters waited outside, snapping photos of his tight jaw and Noah's wilted expression. Ava avoided my eyes, pale and shaken. That evening, Mom called in tears. Everyone's talking. Some say you ruined the town's hero. I swallowed. He ruined himself, Mom. I just showed the receipts. At the library, whispers spread, some grateful, some wary. My boss said gently, "You did right." But people fear fires even when they start from sparks of truth. My hours grew longer as I fielded angry calls from parents who couldn't understand why summer programs paused. Truth has a price tag. Ava came to me days later, voice breaking. I didn't know Jordan. Not all of it. I wanted to believe him. I wanted Noah to be right. She wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry for standing against you." I believed her regret, but forgiveness was harder currency. Noah texted once, "You've made me unemployable. Hope you're proud." I didn't answer. Loyalty doesn't mean burying corpses in silence. Hale's lawyers sent statements, bridge loans, misunderstandings, vendettas. But the documents lived outside spin. Ms. Patel filed complaints. Donors pursued restitution. One night, as I walked home, Ava stopped me. "Do you think I'll ever earn back your trust?" I looked at her, memories and betrayal colliding. Trust isn't recycled, Ava. It has to be rebuilt from raw material. She nodded, tears glistening, then turned away. At home, I opened my logbook. Next to fraud, I wrote consequences. Beneath it, staff layoffs, board fractures, but also the chance for clean rebuilding. The town had lost a hero, but heroes built on lies never stand for long. And I realized my fight wasn't over. It was only shifting to survival in the aftermath. The days that followed felt like living inside broken glass, sharp edges everywhere, nothing smooth to touch. Hale's arrest didn't come quickly. Investigations crawl even when evidence screams. But his absence echoed. The community center closed temporarily, leaving volunteers adrift and families angry. I heard mothers mutter at the market. Why couldn't he have kept it quiet until summer? People wanted programs, not scandal. At work, I felt eyes on me. Some saw me as the one who saved them from deeper theft. Others saw me as the wrecking ball. My inbox filled with messages. Thank yous from smaller donors who feared their money was lost. Accusations from loyalists calling me jealous, self-righteous. My hands shook each time I clicked open another subject line. Ava tried again. She came by with tea, her voice low. "I lost my place on the board. People won't speak to me. I should have stood with you sooner." She looked exhausted, shadows under her eyes. "Is there any way back for us?" I shook my head gently. "Not while I can still hear you telling me to stay quiet." Her face crumpled. She left without finishing her tea. Noah didn't come in person. His message reached me through another volunteer. He was leaving town to reset. Rumors said he'd already applied for a job 2 states away, using a different name for his consulting firm. Hale's fingerprints were all over him, but Noah always believed reinvention beat accountability. Ms. Patel, steady as stone, kept me grounded. "You did what had to be done," she reminded me. People confuse loyalty with silence. In truth, loyalty is protecting the many from the few. At night, I sat alone, hearing echoes of the midnight call. Please, not yet. The irony was bitter. Not yet had become too late for all of them. And then a letter arrived. Hale's handwriting, sharp, deliberate, addressed directly to me. The envelope felt heavier than paper. Inside, Hale's words coiled like snakes. "Jordan, you think you won. You think truth sets you free. But truth is paper without people. People loved me, and they'll remember me longer than they'll remember you." He ended with a threat disguised as prophecy. "When this town withers without me, they'll blame you. Not me." I read it 3 times, then placed it in MS. Patel's file. "Classic manipulation," she said, almost bored. "He's building a defense, painting himself as the martyr." But the letter rattled me. What if he was right? Already, parents scowled at me in the library. Already, some whispered traitor behind shelves of children's books. I held on to the logbook, the photos, the recordings, my anchors against rewriting. But anchors don't erase loneliness. Therapy became my lifeline. I sat in a quiet office and admitted aloud. I miss who I thought they were. Ava, Noah, even Hale. I miss the trust. The therapist nodded. You don't miss them. You miss safety. Safety built on lies isn't safety at all. Week by week, I rebuilt routines. Morning runs. Fresh notebooks. I returned to teaching teens how to navigate online resources, showing them how metadata tells stories lies can't cover. Each small act reminded me that truth isn't glamorous, but it is practical. Ava moved out quietly. Noah stayed gone. Hill's court date loomed. The town adjusted, slowly, grudgingly, but adjusted. One evening, a mother stopped me outside the center's shuttered doors. "You did the right thing," she said softly. "My son's scholarship might still exist now." Her words pierced through weeks of doubt. I went home and opened my logbook to the last page. At the top, I wrote one word: survival. Beneath it, I drew a small square box and left it blank. Because the final lesson hadn't been written yet, it was waiting for me to decide what comes next. Months later, I returned to the town hall meeting room, not for scandal this time, but for a restart. The center reopened under new leadership, budgets transparent, audits monthly. Ms. Patel nodded from the back, satisfied. I sat quietly, no spotlight, no microphone, just watching people rebuild what deception had nearly stolen. I walked home at dawn the next day, the sky pale gold over the water. I paused outside the library, key in hand, listening to the hum of the world waking up. Trust had shattered, but it hadn't killed me. It had carved me into someone sharper, someone who now knows that silence in the face of lies is its own betrayal. To the viewers listening, I'd say this: love the people in your circle, but never confuse warmth with proof. If something doesn't add up, count again, even when it costs you. Because sometimes survival isn't about keeping everyone close. It's about protecting those who don't even know they're at risk. I thought back to that midnight call, Noah's urgent whisper, Ava's pleading breath. Please, not yet. They wanted delay, a chance to protect a mask. But waiting would have destroyed more than I could bear. Now I choose different words. Not yet, but never again. And with that vow, I closed my logbook. Ink heavy, conscience clear, eyes forward to the morning light.